maybe we can you can just repeat what you said, Isaac. We can start with that.
Oh yeah, about the most recent Rcast.
Let's see. Okay, so yes, so we were talking about the most recent RCast, and Isaac, what were you saying was the topic of discussion?
Yeah, so in the most recent Rcast, we were talking about the fairness constraints, which are kind of just another side of the synchrony constraints. So this is on the consumption side, and we were specifically talking about logic T, which is a monad transform in Haskell, which I don't have a whole lot of background knowledge of, but this logic T construct gets you some sort of fairness properties in terms of like combining streams, which is the way that I'm understanding it is kind of like as a validator, you're getting streams of messages, and to kind of like order these messages in a fair way, they're using this particular construct for combining streams. I'm not really sure how to say that differently, but that's my understanding of it at least.
Right. We got briefly introduced to this T concept on Monday during Casper stand up,
Oh yeah.
and apparently this is something that Greg had thought about years and years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's always good when there's something that's you're pulling from the past. He's
Right.
had probably a little wheel that's been spinning all these years, kind
Mm-hmm.
of putting things together.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it'll be interesting. And the interesting thing that I garnered from the discussion was the the liveness constraint and the fairness constraint are
Yeah.
separate. There are two
Right.
separate mechanisms that run independently of each other.
Yeah.
So and then you have to fine tune each one to get to that optimum condition.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, but yeah. Other than that, in the world of consensus, does anyone else have any other thoughts? Yeah. I've been watching. This is more computational calculus related, but I've been. My goal is to start getting up to speed on Rolang, and I've been watching the Archain Rolang community videos that Jake Gilbert had created,
Oh, cool.
and now I'm going through the K framework
Yeah.
segment with definition, and it's helpful for me to I'm starting to get an appreciation and understanding the value of Cray framework. I mean, everything had to be broken down into very basics,
Mm-hmm.
and there's the syntax and then there's the semantics,
Mm-hmm.
and where K framework is coming in, it's like order of operation. Are you going to be doing addition first or multiplication first?
Yep.
And if you're in a domain where the rules haven't been determined yet,
Mm-hmm.
well, something or someone has to make those determinations. And
Right.
this is where K framework comes in. Is
Yeah.
okay, we're going to lay the groundwork for what the semantics are, and then we're going to run it, and then we're going to make sure you're following the rules. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
is
think
that
that order of operations is kind of something that most people take for granted a little bit, because then once you get into uh, like something like K framework, where you have to define everything from the beginning, like even precedence of your constructs, it's like a totally different ball game.
yeah. So yeah, I'm having a deeper appreciation now, and 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 Jake made it an interesting point was for in order to learn Rolang, and if you start off by you doing something like Idris or K framework or Coke, and you have to start into those elementary or the semantics, it forces you to learn the language in order to learn Rolang. So you're learning it from the bottom up, the bones of it all. So yeah, so I'm just trying to power through that. Actually, when I say I've been watching the computational calculi presentations. There's 12 of them that Greg did. I got up to about 9, and I'm like, I it's helpful, but it wasn't getting me where I wanted to be. So I jumped over and started watching these the Jay Gilbert's videos, and I feel like I've just made a whole just leap forward. So once I finish those, I'll go back to from 9 and get through 12. But I think now I'm now starting to make some progress, getting the foundation of everything. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention watching Jake's K framework about pi calculus, like, doing the syntax and semantics for the pi calculus. That's kind of where I started as well with
okay.
learning K framework and trying to implement like rolling in K framework.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I know we're in the consensus segment, but I'm always interested in how things are going with K framework and how your development. Do you have any show and tell for?
So I don't have anything specific today. I honestly didn't really plan a whole lot for it.
Yeah.
But I've been looking at a mathematical modeling language. It's like an object-oriented programming language called Modelica. And this was kind of on the request of Rao. I've been trying to do some modeling for the Archain network. Like at first it was about like message queues and traffic and kind of like the underlying cause of the long propose times. And now it's shifted to validator incentives, and now like doing agent-based modeling and trying to see how different incentives and different like stake distributions play out in a system. So like building a model for that basically. But I'm at the point where I'm just trying to understand the programming language that I want to use for this particular modeling, because it's a whole programming language, and I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, but I'm trying to pick it up as quickly as I can, I guess.
So I'm trying to understand this connection between that. What was the name of that programming language again?
Modelica.
Yeah. And then so you have validators and validator incentives, which is more of like an economic model,
right,
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So Modelica and an economic model. So was Modelica somehow created for this creating of economic models?
So Modelica is like a multi-domain modeling language. So it's got, if you want to do modeling of different like thermal components of a system that also have electrical components and mechanical components, you can kind of like create all of these like smaller sub-models and then link them together in this Modelica framework. So the whole idea is that it's like a compositional modeling language. And that's, I think, why they did like, object oriented, because it kind of lends itself to this like component based or block based modeling. And so, but because it has that sort of feel to it, I think it also lends itself to like this agent based modeling, which is essentially like you have several pieces to your model that are kind of like, you could model it individually and you would call this thing an agent. And basically a validator would be an agent. And an agent is just something that is, making choices about how it's going to proceed depending on like what the environment looks like essentially. So you have several different, components that are all kind of like, not independently deciding, but essentially independently deciding based on just like what the environment is like. So with like validator incentives, one thing that you have to take into consideration is like not only how much stake that you have in the system, but also what is the total stake in the system, because of course that is going to determine like the fraction of the stake that you actually have. Yeah, so this modeling language kind of lends itself well to this agent based modeling is what it seems like to me.
So, um, so with Casper and so many aspects of the RChain project,
Yeah,
Greg with his math background, he
yeah,
has these formulas, or he does equational reasoning. He has
right,
these equations,
yeah,
and working through the logic of the equation, that is gets manifested into implementation of code on
right.
the RChain platform.
Mm-hmm,
So with Modelica, and now we're in this domain of economics. Are
mm-hmm.
there examples of equational reasoning in the field of economics that you'll be able to tap into to look at and to code into Modelica?
Yeah, so one thing that I've been looking at is different kinds of like game theoretic notions. And so one thing that's been kind of jumping out at me is this idea of like a Shapley value, or just like an equilibrium in cooperative games. So like I think people are most familiar with like non-cooperative games like Nash Equilibrium, and like a Nash Equilibrium is basically like the point where like regardless of what the other players are doing in the game, like you are benefiting the most in some respect, with respect to a utility function or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I see it, and maybe this isn't right, but the way that I see it is validators on a network like RChain are more involved in a cooperative game because it's a collective effort to provide the resources to manage the network and make it run properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the cooperative game side, there's an analogous kind of idea, and one of those like manifestations of something like a Nash equilibrium is this thing called a Shapley value, which is basically just like measuring like marginal contribution of each one of the players, and like this is how like the payoffs are divvied up, essentially, is like depending on your marginal contribution, this is kind of like how you're rewarded for the work that you do. And so for me, I'm just looking into these concepts because like I don't have a background in game theory. I just want to understand sort of the motivations and like where these ideas are coming from. And that's where I see them coming from, basically. Uh, so I'm sorry, I totally forgot your
Yeah.
question now. Having
Well,
having
no,
talked
I
about
tell you what, it's just typically, these Friday morning sessions are consensus and then computational calculi, but
yeah,
we're moving towards testnet 3 and soon on to mainnet,
right,
and the validator economics will become center stage.
yeah,
So I'm almost wanting to make a proposal to
hmm,
those of us on the call with an appreciation for the significance of what these economics models will play in
hmm,
our decision making in the coming months. That the second half that the computational calculus section morphs into economic modeling or
hmm,
something with that name,
hmm,
because we're
I,
talking
I've always considered the economic modeling to be part of the Casper.
hmm,
a part of oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, you're right, because thank you, Jim.
Yeah,
So
because the game theory is where we the models he's making is essentially game theory of how these different players are going to behave and
right,
play, and then
okay,
we can throw in some uh,
so
nefarious actors and see
right,
how
right.
that all that works, and we basically go through the entire history of game theory and
hmm,
throw in the always cooperate and the tit for tat and the generous tit for tat and Pavlov and
Yeah.
um, uh, and uh, and we're going to be looking for uh, 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 slightly beyond the consensus game, in that, you know, we're also dealing with the incentives for people to play the game.
Yeah.
You know, incentives. If there's no incentives for them to play the game, they won't play.
Right.
It's interesting that this subject comes up now. I mean, it's coincidental, but I'm sure it's not either, that we seem to be dealing with these issues of cooperative game in the Art on the Blockchain project when we start talking about people's contributions and input into the game, and how you know, they're going to be rewarded in the end. And we've talked about issuing a token that we would call a community token that would represent a percentage of the flow of revenue from the production of the project. And I think this is kind of a happy coincidence, because I just been talking to Michael Linton the other day about how I'm starting to see the thing as sort of a poker game, whereas the assets of the Art on the Blockchain project are the contributions of the members. And so that's sort of like the pot. And the play of the game is determining the distribution of those community tokens, which represent the value of the pot. It's like we pass out tokens at the beginning of players, and then we play the game to decide who ends up with the value of the pot in the end, you know. And when we used to play penny ante poker, you know, somebody would be the bank. We'd take people's paper money and pass them out, you know, chips, and then in the end they would cash in their chips. But that's sort of what the Art on the Blockchain project is. And I think there's a relationship to this cooperative game theory.
Yeah.
But that's the first time I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I would suggest taking a look at two concepts for, like, you know, fair distribution, or at least some notion of fair and stable distribution of payoffs or rewards or whatever you want to call them. One is the Shapley Value. I know I said that one a few times already.
Yeah, I pulled that one up in Wiki already.
And the other one is the core. They talk about this notion of the core, and this is kind of just like any distribution of payoffs that, like, is fair in some sense. So it's like another approach to something like a Shapley Value.
Okay,
so,
I'll contrast the Shapley Value with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
given some conditions, which I don't currently remember, a cooperative game, the Shapley Value for that cooperative game will be in the core. So the core is like a more general concept, kind of. But yeah, that would be my suggestion, is look at those two. Those will give you some pretty good ideas as to how to do, like, a fair distribution of some sort of payoffs for a cooperative game.
cool. Thanks.
Yeah, the first two links that I put into the chat. So Casper Labs, they have a computational economist working for them, Onar Somaz, and he's done some work in these economic modelings, and I believe the game theory. So and I think I read one of his blog posts, but his somaz.io is where he has some articles on his thinking of proof of stake and economic models and things like that. So I just come across these resources that might add to the conversation and to the group education.
Yeah,
So,
that's
but
awesome. I appreciate that. I'll probably find a lot of value in that stuff.
yeah, because I've been thinking about just off as I go through everything that we're going through with rolling. I'm just thinking my mind's off in the background. It's like, boy, what happens when the day comes when we really have to get down to the metal and start thinking about these validator economic models
Yeah.
and I feel like, hey, because we've kind of have talked about it in the past, and
Right.
last year we were wanting to do the validator sale, and I was
Yeah.
really intrigued with that.
Yeah.
But now we're once again we're getting there. So I
Mhm.
feel better prepared than I was the first time around. But this is it's just like just energizes me with the economics. I feel like this is finally something that I can actually put my mind around, because
Yeah.
I don't I took economics in college, and I did well in it. So I'm like, wow, I don't really understand all this other stuff that's going on, but hey,
Mhm.
maybe this might be my lane.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was a while ago, but yeah, I took it was like a mathematical game theory class in undergrad, and it was kind of interesting. It was co-taught. It was like a mathematics professor and an econ professor, and they would kind of switch off and go through their different spiels, which was interesting to get the different perspectives.
But what was interesting to me is, in school I started off as well, engineering major, actually a physics major, and that didn't work out. So I went to math or to engineering, and that didn't work out. But I had taken all this math uh, classes
Yeah.
because I took a lot of science in high school, so I had a strong math background. And then then I changed my business major, and surprisingly, economics uses just as much math as engineering. I was like blown away with all the math that's involved in economics. So, and that was one of the reasons why I was able to uh, keep up and do so well. Is, I
Yeah.
mean, if you didn't have a strong math background,
Mhm.
you were just, people just get snowed. So
Yeah, I mean, it's all multi-dimensional optimization, right? I mean, that's basically what engineering is and what economics is. But then you also have like, social interpretations of economics, which for me is the hard stuff to understand.
yeah, yeah. So I think just the foundation of rolling in general, how it's based on equational reasoning,
Hmm.
at least collectively, we have that platform to stand on when we move into these economic value models of determining for game theory and so forth, with
Yeah.
the economic equational reasoning.
Yeah.
So this is all very interesting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't help but see the connections to. I know Gary, you posted this guy's video. Forgot what his name was. Some Hoffman with the
Yeah,
conscious agents.
Donald Hoffman. Yeah,
Yeah, that. I just can't help but think about that when I'm thinking about like modeling validators as agents, and they have like their own internal logic, and it's basically like a conscious agent essentially.
yeah, yeah. I know the parallels between what he's talking about and what Greg is talking about. I think are important, but
Yeah.
I yeah, it's I just all I can do is post the videos and hope others
Hmm.
get some sort of a glimmer of what he's talking about. But I mean, he's like who was it? Someone said that's metaphysics, but
Oh, Thomas Love, I think.
yeah, yeah, it was Thomas Love.
Hmm.
He says it was metaphysical,
Hmm.
and and it, but it's not quite. I think it's somewhere between metaphysics and physics.
Hmm.
But yeah, totally. But I fear just like K frameworks for me. These are just two different rabbit holes that I could go down right
Oh
now,
yeah, right.
and I need to get back to the bash and
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
the JSON query language.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, I hear you. I mean, I was watching some Git version control videos yesterday, just to kind of bring it back down to earth.
I was watching AWS. I tell you, yesterday I felt frustrated all day long, but fortunately, I figured out the big mistake I was making, and it was, as always, it was just another dumb mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder, has anyone done any search on YouTube for game theories in relation to proof of stake? Are there any speakers or videos out there on that topic?
So I watched one video from I don't know if I think it was DEF CON 3. Like one of the Casper developers for Ethereum was talking about crypto economics, and maybe that would be kind of along
Okay.
the right lines.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a search. I'll look for that one. So, because now I see, every things are evolving now, and I kind of want to make sure I'm stay up on the conversation and how things evolve. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, neat.
But it's interesting. An observation I made yesterday was that for the approach we're taking through the CLI, just for the sake of expediency, and yeah. But I realized yesterday that this JSON parser, it's like sed stream parser, I guess. Isn't that what sed is?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, it's another command line tool. That things can be piped into and piped out of. And that JQ stream editor or parser has a full language within itself. So right there at that point of contact, we have the ability to insert a full-blown programming language into the logic of what to do with the output of the stream.
You mean like directly on the command line?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
So I consequently, I'm spending a lot of time learning the JQ language now.
So wait, what is the JQ language?
Well, Java query. It's a tool for using, JSON query.
Okay.
It's a tool for dealing with JSON data in shell or bash.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. You wanna see it right quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just sort of like jQuery.
Well, I don't have my Keybase running. Hold on just a second. I'm sorry. I'm not going to offer to do that because my computer's been blue screening because of a wireless driver that needs an update, and I'm on the trail of tracking it down. But every time it blue screens, all my development tools get shut down, and so I can't show you anything right now.
Okay.
But anyway, it's real cool. We set up a listener at the command line, and it listens to all the channels that we subscribe to on Keybase, and so within JQ, you can insert, language commands. Plus, you can kind of compose these JQ command lines and pipe one into another. You just compose one and say, oh yeah, that worked well. Now I'll just stick another one in the pipe, another pipe in, and have another transform in there. And so you get these things fit right into the whole Rolang philosophy of listeners and sending on channels and listening on channels.
Yeah.
Because that's all JQ can do.
JQ just lets you use JSON data in shell easily.
So you guys have been talking a lot about key-based bots and that sort of stuff. So like, how does this like JQ stuff differ or compare to like a key-based bot? Because that was the example that you gave, was you could use it to do something with the information.
We can do everything any key-based bot can do. We don't do it in JavaScript though. That's all they're doing. They're doing exactly what we're doing in JavaScript.
Oh, okay.
Looks like I'm having
robots going crazy.
Problem here with robots.
Are you using, which shell are you using?
This is just Bash. This is on robot.net.
Oh, robot.net. Okay.
Why does this work?
Yeah, I had a key-based bot running on robot.net, but we realized that we had our public keys on an open machine, and so everybody wiped out their channels very quickly.
What is happening here?
But no, it's really been an eye opener to. Yeah, let me just show you. Here's a 10-line. Here is all you need to write a bot in Keybase. Do a search on Keybase bot in lines. Here's our bot. Here's how to set up as many. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. That's not. I clicked on the wrong link, didn't I?
Jim, can you post that link to that paper in chat by chance?
Oh yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, I was going to ask him what that paper was about, but wanted to let him figure out the robot stuff.
Yeah, there was a bunch of things here that looked interesting. Yes. 16 things at a time here.
I want to share a screen with Isaac.
Oh, I'm still sharing. Didn't realize that I was sharing it.
Okay, Isaac, this is the prototype for our bot, and here is okay. We set up the listener on Keybase through the Keybase CLI.
Okay.
This is just a bash command here, right, Jim? While read L do. Right. We're reading lines one at a time.
Okay.
Which is problematic. When we write real bots, we don't want to use the bash read command.
So here we're assigning our out to a variable. We're assigning this to the out variable, and there is our JQ parser. We're selecting row output, and now here is what we're passing to the JQ parser. This is our program right here. There's a select command, and on the stream we select a type that's equal to the string chat. We also select message content text starting with the word bang Arnie. And then I have to think about this now.
This looks like you're extracting something from this JSON, right?
Yeah. This is, see, notice how we're kind of building streams here. And at this point, we selected message text body starts with Arnie. And then at this point, we were just getting the text body in the stream from us looking at the stream and, okay. But notwithstanding, we've selected strings that have Arnie at the front of them using the JQ language there. And then if we didn't get a null string after, if they didn't just put Arnie on there, no, I take that back. This string will contain the outputs of this select. So anyway, what we then do is we echo everything back to the channel. I tell you what he does right here. He trims Arnie out of the stream before he sends it onto the out.
Okay, so you're listening for a stream that starts with that particular keyword. Then you're also just cutting that keyword off of the beginning of the string and then just sending whatever else is left, I guess, to this to the channel.
But you've got a full language of modifiers here. You can select, you can search, starts with, contains. We've got all kinds of logic operators, but JQ is a full blown language, a fairly high level language.
So what does the .type equal chat part mean? So is it almost like
I wish we could set up a stream so you could see. We actually have our own bots built that do different things.
I think it would be helpful. Sorry.
What?
I think it would be helpful to see this JSON, because this .type looks like you are searching for an object which has a field named type, and in this field you have a chat string.
Oh.
So it's like a XPath for XML.
So if I do keybase chat API listen. Is that gonna work there too? Yeah, so it's listening, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted keybase chat listen H, because I wanted it.
I'm gonna grab it just for a second, just to show.
Yeah. If you've got something.
All right. Well, I just have a log of listen here.
Oh, okay.
And
set it up so it prints pretty.
Oh.
Yeah, I should do a pretty print of this. But we can see the first field is type, and if the type is chat, it's exactly what that was looking for.
Okay, yeah, it's just listening for the JSON objects and then searching for the field with name type or whatever. And specifically for that type field to have chat in it.
Right.
Yeah, but we can do reply. If it's got replies in it, we can look for specific replies.
Yeah.
We can do logic on we can count the replies. We can I mean, we just, we've got a full-blown language there that we can start working with.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like a query language for JSON, right?
May I ask why you would why you would use like this complicated language instead of just write this in something like a JavaScript, and you can write script in Node.js and just run it from the bash. I mean, it's much easier because JSON is integrated in Node.js, so you can very easily just load the JSON and compare the fields as you like, and you can construct a result JSON like very, very easy.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Gary likes it. I mean, I've been writing bash scripts since the 70s, so it's very.
I mean,
it's much more convenient for me to write a bash script than it is for me to write a JavaScript app.
I mean, you can write it as a file in the same way and run it in the same way. Right? You can just put on the top of the file. You don't say this is like a shell script, but you say this is like a Node script, and it will work the same.
That's true. Yeah. Shell includes all other languages by default.
Yeah. But it's a lot easier for manipulating JSON. Yeah. You have an object and you have arrays, and you can.
Yeah, you just have to learn it.
I see this JQ something as if you don't have all the other tools, then if you only have a bash, then this is like a helper thing to manipulate JSON, but it's not very easy or.
Well, for me, I like it because I can understand what I'm doing when I work at this level. But it also helps me when I move to other levels. Your levels would be one that
maybe I can write an example for this kind of script. So you will see it's much more understandable.
Okay, well, when you see what we're up to, maybe I would love to see it, because I can just as easily run this stuff in Node.js as well.
Yeah. The only requirement is that you have Node.js installed. This is the only requirement. So
and I've done the equivalent of all this in Node.js too, but for me, we are building a toy model here.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining that you will want to add more complicated functionalities.
Of course.
In that case, you will have a bash script, which is
And I see how quickly the technical debt piles up on me. Believe me, I do, and I see it piling up on Jim when he's working on robot too. But I completely understand.
But for start,
And if there were others here more proficient in those things than I am, I'm sure we would be going that route. But sadly, there aren't. I mean, this is all we've got. We have to hunt and pack this stuff, really.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. Yeah.
But thanks. I like hearing your thoughts about this, because that tells me at least you recognize what I'm doing, and that it could be done easier. Because Lord, I know it could be done easier.
And then when you have the Keybase probably uses in this similar way how you connect to Arnold. So this Keybase CLI, it probably just is. It is just probably like a tunnel to some JSON API, like REST or something. So it makes sense that if you have this JavaScript code, you can really run it inside the browser, because this is like if you have a simple HTTP JSON API, you can run this code in the browser, and also you know, additionally have some UI. So in that sense,
I know.
You have much more like opportunities to expand.
We're trying to get there.
Cool.
Oh, Tomislav, I haven't checked out the VS extension that your new VS extension. I don't know if you maybe wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I just updated so that it uses gRPC connection.
Yeah.
So now it's instantaneous to get the errors or evaluate.
Oh, cool. So wait, so how is it
So-
working? How was it working before then? If it wasn't just through.
Oh, I was using like I was starting new process and call Arnode instance and like normally like you do it from the shell.
Oh, okay, right. Like actually run like the Arnode run command and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
wait
okay.
for the start.
Yeah. But, you know, I'll be honest. I always thought your extension on VS Code like worked way faster than anything I was doing from Bash. But maybe
Okay.
that was just my perception.
Okay, now you will see what is fast.
Oh, great! Yeah, that's cool.
You
Well,
know,
and
it's instantaneous. Like, you just save it and you see the errors.
I mean, the other benefit for me in using that VS Code extension was I didn't have to care about what version of Java I had installed on my machine, which was great. I didn't need to worry about like organizing my Nix packages and like using the right Nix environment. I didn't have to have two Bash windows open at the same time, you know, to run my eval commands and everything. It was just like everything's just all there in the VS Code terminal, and that was great. But if you're saying it's even faster now, that's awesome.
And you see the errors inside the code, so you don't have to you know count the lines.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, rather, sorry, 3 windows, because then you also need your text editor window open so you can, you know, adjust the code and everything. Yeah. And that's that has Node 9.14 you said, or 9.15?
This works with any. So no, it's not any version. The 9.6 is the least version that you can use.
Oh, okay.
But it supports all the API and now new API.
Okay, and you choose which version of Arnode you're using, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, for that I'm using a gRPC reflection.
Okay.
To get what is because the differences in the namespace mostly. So
Okay.
You know, for the REPL, the only difference is the namespace. So I'm using the reflection to get the services, and then I see what is the namespace, and I know what is the version. So.
Okay.
Like,
so then effectively, is it just using like the latest version of Arnode that's up on Docker or something like that?
Oh, yeah, you mean version of Arnode? You can select the version in the settings. Of the
extension. Cool. Okay, so you can actually just pick whatever version you want.
Yeah. You enter the Docker image.
Yeah.
Name of the Docker image, and you can run with any version you want.
Oh, cool. Okay. Nice. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, now I think that 9.15 is not tagged as the latest version on Docker.
Okay.
So you need to specify exactly which version you want, because you will not get this latest version.
Okay, that makes sense.
And you can also you have a checkbox that you can say if you want to run locally installed. Or you can specify the path to executable. So you can run whatever you want.
Cool.
Yeah, and I was also fixing ports on which it runs. So now this information is displayed also in the output. And you gave me feedback about installation. So if you on the first start, if you don't have Docker image, you didn't know what happening. And you said me this is like confusing. So now I'm displaying all this information in the output. So you will know when
I mean, for somebody who's never used Docker before, it was very confusing. But I'm sure with somebody who has like any experience with that stuff, it's like super straightforward and like, oh,
yeah. But it was confusing. Yeah. I really appreciate your feedback because it was confusing because you didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
So now you see
right. Because it didn't give you any sort of like error message.
Yeah.
It was just like waiting forever.
Yeah. So if you don't know what's happening, it was very confusing. So thanks for letting me know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad it was helpful.
So because now I'm displaying all of this information. So you know that something is going on. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I really like that. Like that's definitely my preferred way to, run anything in our node is to just use the VS Code extension.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is the main purpose, so yes. Yeah, now I'm improving the API generator and I'm almost done to not use additional tools to generate JavaScript code. So now I don't need any generator to generate JavaScript. So I only need one library to generate a JSON schema from protobuf files, and then you get your TypeScript file and everything runs.
Cool.
So now I'm ready to make some changes on Robot.
It's unfortunate that Visual Studio doesn't really work well if you're running on a cloud server or in the Ubuntu Bash for Windows, which basically is headless.
Oh yeah. You need to have a UI. Yeah, and but I have something else in mind. Inside Visual Studio Code, this editor, he uses Monaco editor. This is the editor built for Visual Studio. So this editor also can run inside the browser. So I'm thinking to take the same thing in the browser and run the node. So you can then run your editor inside your browser and just point to the gRPC port of your node. And the only problem is that you don't have a standard output. So we don't have all that we need, but if we can use other channels for our standard output, then we can say, okay, I'm using this my new channel that I'm listening on in my client, and this channel will for me be a standard output. So it makes sense.
If you're using a browser, you would only need to browse to the file. That's the standard output, right?
Oh yeah, but I'm thinking that you don't have access to the file system.
Yeah.
If you only have access to support on the server, so it's completely remote.
So that's for like security purposes, that you wouldn't have access to the file system or standard out?
Well, I'm just thinking that I want to be able to completely control Node without any other access than gRPC.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see. Right. Yeah. So then, just by default, you don't have access to standard out.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking how to overcome this, and like for the purposes of your execution, you just say, okay, I'm sending this text or output to this channel, and this channel for me will be standard. And in a sense, this makes sense in the long run, because what does it mean to print to standard output if you are on the blockchain? You know, there is no standard output on the blockchain. You know?
Yeah.
I'm imagining blockchain as a closed system that, you know, it's just changing the state, but it is for the outside, for the actors outside, what they are interpreting this state, right? Listening on some channel and say, okay, now I have this information in this channel, so I will, you know, launch the missile. I don't know.
So
Yeah,
what I'm showing here is I set up a Keybase listener and piped it through JQ, and the period is the simplest command you can have in JQ. That says just don't change anything, just send back what you see.
Yeah.
And so Jim, can you go on? Oh no, here's what I want to do. I want to go on Keybase, and I just sent a test message, and that's what you see up there. I'm going to put a check on the test message, and now we're going to go back to the stream. Oh, it didn't come. Oh, why didn't it come? It heard the first one, didn't it?
Oh, so you're expecting that to automatically update, right?
Yeah, I think you just read one line. Didn't you? No?
Well, I've broken it. But anyway, I think you see the point I was wanting to show earlier with the pretty print. Okay, sorry to distract the discussion.
Gary, do you know maybe? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just searching if you know what is the URL to Keybase API. You're connecting to this API on your machine, right? Or how this works?
I'm connecting to the API through the Keybase CLI.
And Keybase CLI connecting to local service, right?
Yes, it's running to the Keybase app that's running locally.
I was just remembered for this this tool that you can run inside the browser. It is in JavaScript, of course, but you can mix text and JavaScript, and you can use data to make some kind of visualization, and it's similar to this Jupyter book, which I think it's in Python. So I will try to find this and to.
Yeah, what is the Keybase command called? It's not just Keybase, right? There's something else to it.
If you're on Linux, I think it's run Keybase.
Run Keybase. So it do like sudo apt install run Keybase.
Yeah, it's run underscore Keybase, I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why they did it that way on Linux. It's not that way on Windows.
Is this for you?
I just run Keybase, but I'm not sure. You can't just apt install it.
Oh, okay. It's not just okay. I see. I'm gonna have to go to their website to get it.
But I had that working the other day where every time anybody put a green check mark on anything, robot would pop back and award them 50 community tokens for using the green check mark, you know, which was pretty cool.
Run Keybase. How do you like that? I see the run underscore Keybase here, but I've never typed that. Run without a GUI, huh?
That may be what you do to start.
I see.
See, it's got to be running all the time
Right.
to run
I
the sequence.
I never ran a GUI on Linux. That's why. Run Keybase runs the GUI. You can run it without the GUI.
Oh, Run Keybase runs the GUI?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I was confusing that with something else. Maybe it is just Keybase.
Yeah, I've always just typed Keybase. It's interesting. But
Isaac, you're on mute if you're talking.
Oh, sorry. I was just confirming that you can't apt install it, and then I went to the website and I see that you have to do some curl stuff and pull it from their website, and then you can do the apt install. I guess once you have the that directory or repo or whatever. Oh, Jim, I wanted to say thank you for the 2 links. Those looked really good for the crypto economic stuff.
Yeah, there was. I mean, I think you were suggesting doing a search, so I'm getting distracted by all these things that look.
Now you know how I feel.
But yeah, I mean, when we started building the electronic information exchange system back at NJIT in 1966, Murray Turoff, EFF pioneer, professed to us that all systems are economic, have an economic basis.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, I think is somebody, I've been told where that quote comes from, but I forget. You know, for me, it comes from Murray. Oh, she daisy. Whoa. You know, before. My roller chair. You know, there was a number of other things that he taught us back in the beginning, which I'm concerned that we're not following, is never create anything you can't delete.
Yeah, that's kind of the antithesis of blockchain.
Right.
And maybe even anything really decentralized. That's kind of the antithesis of that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it does have, you know, it does have meaning. I mean, it's in some way, in some ways, you want to think, you know, I mean, we're going to have some kind of rent or something.
Yeah.
That's going to determine when things go or what things are lost when we have limited resources. To some extent, it's like it's built into the dust.
Yeah.
You know, that when you know, if you essentially reduce the priority, you know, shift left logical 1, eventually you're going to run out of bits, and it's going to be gone.
Yeah. But that kind of reminds me of like, you know, like right to be forgotten sort of philosophy, you know.
That's an important. The European Union says your system has to give people the right to be forgotten. People are sort of ignoring that to some extent. But and you know, even I sort of think about you know, if something is out raw on the blockchain, it's obviously not destroyable, whatever. But nobody ultimately is going to be accessing raw data across the whole internet. It's going to be the responsibility of whatever organization is given to that information to either include child porn or not, right? It's still going to be there.
But somebody need to pay for the storage, right?
Yeah, but you know, more than that, I mean, you know, it can be illegal. I mean, like in the case of child pornography or the right to be forgotten. Okay, you know, do we? And will somebody pay for it? I think is, you know, the important aspect with respect to the crypto economics. But you know, it's you know, it seems clear that there will be sponsors to keep this stuff up forever. I mean, there's, you know, they're out there already. They're sponsoring everything, right? Everything is being kept.
I pasted in the chat this link for this tool.
Oh yeah, what was that for?
It's in the browser. Maybe I can interactive JavaScript notebooks.
Oh.
So you can write. You have included the D3 library already, so you can write like one page applications with some JavaScript inside, and you can use D3 to visualize it. So, for example, I'm imagining. Well, I'm not completely sure if this is like the easiest thing to do, but I imagine that you can connect to Keybase, waiting for messages, and then display in some way. But I'm just using this as an example. So.
You use this Kajero?
Yeah, I was using this tool for debugging because I have some log that I parsed, and I needed a quick way to visualize it. And
wow,
this is a way to just, you know, use this JSON. And,
yeah. I see the idea there. That's interesting.
I like the browser, you know.
So the RSong Hangout or whatever it's called that starts now or 11:30 in 4 minutes. I guess it was called Blockchain Music Tech. Steve just went over to that meeting.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But they announced at the meeting this week that music tech is going to get changed to environmental tech.
Yeah.
I guess I'll head over to there so, you know, to update the calendar entry, figure out exactly what it is. You know, I definitely sympathize with people who think that we're we're really application agnostic. Our chain's about coordination technology, and yes, the environment is probably the greatest example of, or the most obvious example of where coordination is needed and can be fruitful. But in terms of real threats that are facing us, probably war, disease, economic collapse, all these other things are probably going to kill us before we destroy the planet.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if I should go there and to the meeting and say,
Yes, but these other things are a class of catastrophes. Whether they will get us or not, I mean, it just won't be on the same scale as, the loss of a viable planet.
I disagree. I mean, 66 million years ago, the Earth was much hotter than it is today. And the dinosaurs didn't complain. We have change. We'll adjust to it. It'll be economic opportunity. We'll be thriving. Change will be a great thing. We could say, oh, now we have to live like the dinosaurs, whatever. But
yeah, we can wear masks, and we can have oxygen all inside. Yeah, sure. But I don't think that we can kill the planet.
Yeah, I think
maybe we can kill the humans, but
humans' effect, I think, is overrated. I mean, if we look at, if we go way back, I mean, we had go back to a few billion years, the atmosphere was 75% carbon dioxide. So this is just a correction of the change that's already happened.
No, the humans are helping.
I think we need coordination. Fortunately, I think Archain's solution to global coordination will help all these other problems you're talking about that may kill us first.
Yeah.
Which are going to have to be solved anyway. If we can if we can't solve those, then we're not going to get ourselves together enough to solve climate change.
Yeah, and and to me, the problem is central bank money, the root of all evil.
Well, we've got a solution.
We're not crypto stuff can prove truth to a certain extent. It can lead people to understand how we are the product and we are and the money power is not looking out for our interest. We're wage slaves today, and serve them the same way we always have, and they don't want us to be free. And until we have our own money, we're not going to be free. And
Well,
a
I
lot
think
of this shit against our chain and against blockchain and against all this other stuff, it's just to prevent us from having our own money. Well, in any case, I'm going to go over to the climate meeting. So I'll see you guys later.
This is what you need.
See you.
See you, Jim.